Cindy, that puts you in the hot seat.
Cindy, you came early.
I didn't get a copy of the schedule. So,
You're the only one?
I don't know, I even went back and went to my email. Am I on there?
But you know what's today? They didn't want to.
Right. Well, when you sent out the budget information, you told us to put the date on the calendar. So I did that. But no, so I came to check on what time.
10:25.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I was here at 8 to find out what time I was on
She
the
was
schedule.
here.
Yeah.
That was early.
So, yeah.
Where were
So-
you? She won't.
Yeah.
I know, but I thought she was wanting to know where to put the snacks.
Oh. Uh. Well, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. On our budget, probably the biggest request that we have is we would love to be able to have 3 full-time educators again. When I was here in June, kind of suggested that I come up with some options, so I worked with the Extension Board, and they did come up with 3 options, and that should be attached to a copy of the budget. And those 3 options are, our first preference would be to go back to 3 full-time educators. Another option would be to pull in a 2.5. We can go anywhere, you can have 2 3/4 or 2 2/3. 2.5 is kind of what they come up with. Or the third option would be to keep the same funding pattern as what we have right now, which is 2 full-time educators and then a temporary part-time program assistant. So on the sheet that has the 3 options, I did list what it would cost for all 3 of those options, and just a little bit about programming. If we had 3 full-time educators, the contract with Purdue for 2013 would be $97,880. That would give us the opportunity to have an educator, a full-time educator in each of the 3 program areas which we represent, which would be Health and Human Sciences, 4-H, and Ag and Natural Resources. If we went to 2.5 educators, again, probably all 3 would be in one of the 3 program areas, but the Extension Board would need to work with Purdue to come up to figure out what that funding pattern or how the programs would work out. Which program would be that half-time person. So that would have to be determined.
That would probably be at 4-H, but that's what they eliminated.
Right. I think I don't know. I mean, there's just lots of options that could be. And, it wouldn't, typically, one person is in one program area. So one person does 4-H, one person does Ag. But when you have less than your full-time, then you can potentially split positions. So, like with 2.5, I mean, there's just several different options, and I'm not sure what we might come up with. So, any of them really could be half-time. I mean, even 4-H could go half-time, but, whatever's half-time, you could be hurting the program. Or you might split it. I don't know, there's just lots of options there. And we would have to work with the board to figure out what would work best for Whitley County. And then on the third option, 2 full-time educators and a part-time county employee, which is what we have now. We do have a person in that position right now. She is a lower pay than the previous one that we had, so if that's the one that you choose to go to, I did reduce that one by $1,000 based upon her current pay.
What's, is there a particular reason her pay is lower than the previous one?
Just experience,
Okay. That's fine, I
Yeah.
just was curious.
yeah.
So you have, a postage meter, 4,000.
Yes.
Have you guys been quoting that out? Is that,
Well, yes, and it's like on a lease, and we re-upped it about 2 months before the county went.
I wondered about that.
Yes, and we hopped on it right away, but they would not let us out of that lease, so we're in it for another 2 years.
How much will that save you then when you can get out of it?
I don't know, we didn't price it out.
Well, I wonder what the penalty would be versus the savings.
It was too much. We looked at it, and you guys didn't want to mess with them going right into it. It wasn't a huge cost savings to them,
Okay.
like it was for the ball field, yes. Because actually, I don't even think, we're out of contract up here in the government center, but we don't even use that postage machine like it used to be used because of emails. The clerk's office is really the one that had the whole thing going with Pitney Bowes, that is saving a ton of money. Ours isn't even a large savings because it's not used very much anymore.
Cindy, back maybe even before you, when Purdue made the decision about funding the 3 positions, and they made that decision based on population of the counties, or what was that?
Yeah, there's a formula. There was a formula at that time, and it was based on population, age of the population, median income, number of farms, schools. There were 7 different factors that went into that. And based upon that formula, then all of the counties were divided into 3 tiers.
So that showed how, and their funding was 1, 2, or 3.
Right, yes, yep.
Whatever,
And we are tier number 1, which is the
smaller.
smaller, yeah, smaller counties, right. Smaller rural counties.
There's probably not any chance of that changing either.
Probably not. Reassessment was part of that too, now that I think of it, but they have not touched that formula since they came up with it. So I would not anticipate that.
At this time, if the council went to 2.5, which of the 3 areas would more than likely get the half?
I don't know. Based upon funding, with the way that it's literally funded, it would be the 4-H position.
Do you have a say, though?
Well, it'll be up to the board. I mean, the board will make a recommendation to Purdue. My thought would be, I don't think Whitley County would go with a half-time 4-H educator, as strong as the program is here.
I do not disagree with you one bit.
Yeah. I mean, just based upon our funding right now, with Dave and I splitting it, we're working 4-H about 80%. And this year we've lost over 60 kids. And you don't know for sure, but we feel like part of that loss is probably because we don't have a full-time person dedicated to it. But I guess I can't say which of the other 2.
Is the county gonna have a choice of which one?
The extension board will be able to make a recommendation, yes.
That doesn't necessarily mean that's what's gonna happen.
No, but 95% of the time, Purdue will agree with that.
But when they cut it in the first place, Purdue cut out the 4-H aid.
Well, it's because of the way that it was
Yeah.
funded, right, because everybody had to have that ag and home economist at the time, right. So then it was up to the counties to pick up the youth position if they wanted it. Right. And for some counties, that's fluctuated over the years, but in Whitley County, that's always stayed the same for the past 20 years. The youth educator position has always kind of been that one on the bubble. Yeah. But you know, when you think about that 2.5, you know, for Dave and I, we would visit with the board, but we would also need to pull ourselves out of it, because if the board would choose to either make Health and Human Services or Ag half-time, you know, that potentially could affect our positions. You know, and I'm not ready to go to half-time. I'm ready to retire, but I'm not old enough to retire. You know, so we would just really have to leave a lot of that discussion up to the board to figure that out, and then to try to hopefully fit us into those positions then.
This conversation came up before, but when the ag position has always been a big deal, because a lot of farmers went to the ag for things. Now they go to their fertilizer dealers and all the other people.
Yeah.
That cut down on that load.
The big guys do, but we've got now the big are the hobby farmers, the 10 and 20 acre people. And Whitley County right now has a lot of people that are growing organics. And they're doing that on 5 or 10 acres. And many of those, they just, they're going to the internet for information. But that nationwide, that's the area of agriculture that's growing, and it's growing in Whitley County too. Just a lot of those smaller, and, people that have 10 chickens, they've got 2 goats. They've moved to the country, bought a few acres, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. And then with our Master Gardener program too, that area has just really, really increased that consumer horticulture. We just get gobs and gobs and gobs of questions. And of course, this year with the drought, it continues. But we have a lot of interest in consumer horticulture here.
Comments or questions for Sonny? Thank you for your time.
Okay, well, I will invite you to the 4-H fair. We had about 1,200 projects come in this morning, and they are in the process of all being judged right now. So let's bring your family and your friends, and I know most of you we will see out there.
Be here for 2 days.
All right.
Good.
Okay.
Are you dropping some off at it though?
Yes, I put some in the
We
mailboxes.
had some older lady come in and say, I get a 4-H book every year here. Okay, I haven't seen them, but we directed her down to you.
Okay. Yep, I put them in the mailboxes.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.